You're watching TV9 News and I'm Prajwal D'Souza. In the last 24 hours, India reported over 3.8 lakh COVID-19 cases and close to 3,500 deaths. As the cases rise and hospitalization increase, the country is gasping for the supply of medical oxygen. Now, amid the chaos, several people are trying to produce oxygen in their homes using DIY or do-it-yourself kits. The trend started to increase after the country started to report an acute shortage of medical oxygen. Now, an analysis of Google Trends for the past few weeks showed an increase in search for the term how to make oxygen at home in India. Unsurprisingly, the majority of the search results were from the national capital, Delhi. This has given rise to DIY videos on YouTube. A simple search of how to make oxygen at home on YouTube will fetch you several videos which have thousands of views. Some of the videos are clickbait, while some claim they use electrolysis of water. Now, several of these videos are trending with lakhs of views, while the uploaders of the videos put out a disclaimer to try it at your own risk. The question is it safe to do so? Now, here is what immunologist Dr. Sitesh Roy has to say. Doctor, can oxygen be manufactured at home as some videos claim?
No, Prajwal, oxygen cannot be manufactured at home. Simple experiments like electrolysis, in which a strong electric current is passed through water or certain solutions, and hydrogen bubbles off at the negative terminal and oxygen bubbles off at the positive terminal, can only give you separation of the H2 from the O in water, but it can't give you high quantities of oxygen that is required for medical treatment, because in that process you require much higher concentrations, almost 90 to 93% pure oxygen, whereas normal air carries about 21% oxygen. And also you need pressure, which is something called 50 psi, pounds per square inch of pressure that is required. So doing that in an home environment is not possible in my opinion.
Now, what are the risks associated with it?
The risk of trying to manufacture oxygen at home is largely the risk of accidents or damage. So some people use a combination of hydrogen peroxide with potassium permanganate, which is a highly exothermic, that means heat producing reaction, which can cause technically chemical injuries. And also when oxygen is produced, we know that it supports combustion, which is burning. And so if there is any source of a fire near the oxygen being made in the house, you can actually end up with fires, which is a very dangerous situation and strongly not recommended to be done in homes or other non-commercial establishments that know how to handle, prepare and store the oxygen that may be made.
Is the trend of making oxygen at home worrying you as a health professional?
It is extremely worrying to be knowing that people are trying to manufacture oxygen at home, because commercial plants that manufacture oxygen use something called a cryodistillation, or they use something called vacuum adsorption. And in this, literally oxygen is extracted from normal air and stored in cylinders or containers at a very high pressure, which is about 2000 psi, and is provided to people. Generally, when it is given for inhalation from a cylinder, it's controlled to about 50 psi. To give you an idea, 50 psi is equal to 3 times the normal atmospheric pressure that we experience at sea level. So it is impossible to achieve all these things in a normal home environment. So it's very worrying that people may depend on what is bubbling through the water as oxygen, when in reality it cannot help the person, because it's neither pressurized, neither of the high concentration that that human being needs for their recovery.
What is the procedure behind manufacturing oxygen? Is it simple so that it can be replicated at home?
As previously mentioned, there is something called cryodistillation that is used to extract oxygen from normal air, which has been provided to us with oxygenation by the beautiful trees and nature around us, which already is at 21%, but in commercial requirement needs to be above 90% concentrated. or there is a process in which there is vacuum adsorption that is done. It's also called vacuum swing adsorption, by which again in a more energy efficient manner the oxygen is extracted from air and then put into pressurized canisters, containers or cylinders for medicinal or industrial use. This is not possible or practical to be replicated at home through electrolysis or through chemical reactions.
Doctor, can electrolysis be used to separate oxygen from water as some of these videos claim?
Electrolysis certainly can separate the hydrogen and the oxygen that makes up the water molecule called H2O, where hydrogen is released at the negative terminal and oxygen is released at the positive terminal and then can bubble off through a tube or be extracted. But this is neither of a very high pure quantity, neither is it of a high pressure that is required for medicinal oxygen therapy. So the answer to that is, while you may separate it and it may be a chemical experiment, one, it uses a lot of electricity, two, it carries risks of, as I mentioned, fires, combustion, injury, because electricity through water, as you know, is a risky combination by itself. And then lastly, you don't get the end result that you need for medical treatment.
It is understood that many of you might be seeking alternate ways to procure oxygen, but currently it is too dangerous to follow what is being claimed in these DIY videos. The important thing right now is to be safe from COVID-19, and you should not forget to follow all the safety protocols. If you like the content, do click on the like button and don't forget to subscribe to TV9 News on all the social media platforms. Thank you for watching and have a great day.